Hello and welcome to Book 17, Book XVII. If we keep going, we're going to run out of I's. Book 17 of the Odyssey, and in our last exciting episode, Telemachus had been reunited with his father. Didn't believe him at first, but he finally did, and so there's more embracing and more weeping. Never any shortage of tears in this work. So Telemachus goes from the swineherd's fold to the palace, and so now he's going right into the heart of the beast, then right into the enemy territory. He's welcomed, of course, by his mother. "You have come as a sweet light, Telemachus," she says, line 41. What a nice thing to say to your son, right? "I thought I would see you no more when you went secretly in a ship against my will to Pylos for word of your dear father." You think of how that must have stressed Penelope. She has been mourning the loss of her husband for 20 years now, and then my baby, my Telemachus, decides he's going to be like his father and take off and just leave me here. And so this is a happy reunion. Okay, so interestingly, he goes to the swineherd's hut before he even comes to say hello to his mom. Telemachus now leads this stranger in, and so now he's part of the plot now. He's introducing this stranger as a beggar. Okay, his true identity is being withheld here. And Penelope rushes up to the stranger, and so here's a great irony here. Here is a great confusion, or that's not the right word, an ambiguity. Penelope's attraction to this stranger interests us on several levels. Of course, she was initially attracted to him, right? This is her husband, right? And so surely, I guess the mystical, romantic side of us says that there's something magical, that somehow a wife will always know her husband. But then another rational side of us, or a cynical side of us, says, that's all fairy tales. That's old wives' tales, and this is, well, so what? She's an old wife, so it should be an old wives' tale. But we say, no, that can't be. That's not rational. Okay, she simply doesn't recognize him because she's simply interested in him because he's a traveler, right? Remember the whole structure of Xenia, the whole dynamic of Xenia is that strangers who have traveled come, and their recompense, their gift, their return for being offered hospitality is that they give the news of the world, okay? And she desperately wants to know, have you heard anything about my husband? Okay. But we're going to be watching that change over the course of the next couple of books to and it's kind of not anything that you can put your finger on. It's kind of subtle, the way in which is she interested in him now for himself, or only insofar as he can help her know about Odysseus, or and then what's the nature of this attraction? Has she finally found someone other than Odysseus that she is interested in? Of course, on the narrative level, the audience always knows that that in fact, if she does fall in love with this new stranger, it would not be technically a factual violation, but that leads to a kind of a philosophical question about the morality of the situation. That's precisely the same situation as the old tale type of the bed trick that we see in Shakespeare, a couple of comedies of Shakespeare, that if you swear fidelity to your husband, and then your husband woos you in disguise, and you sleep with this disguised husband, are you guilty of adultery? Because you're actually sleeping with your husband, right? But you think that it's somebody else. So in fact, you are morally guilty of adultery, even if you are not materially guilty of adultery. Okay. We never have to take the problem that far in the case of Penelope, but it's an enticing situation. Anne Amory wrote an essay which is in your collection. I recommend it heartily if you're interested in this question. Because scholars for centuries have been saying, when does Penelope know? Does she maybe know? Does she maybe suspect that this may be Odysseus and she's testing him? Clearly, that's the case at the very end, right? When she actually does another bed trick, and we'll get to that later, and explain that. And so clearly, by that time, she kind of suspects. But Anne Amory says, the question doesn't need to be all or nothing. Okay, our suspicions along those lines, our certainty, can be expressed in a statistical continuum, in degrees of probability. You know, maybe I'm 20% sure that this guy might be my husband. It kind of slowly dawns on you. Okay, well, enough of that. We could carry that on forever, but let's get to the plot. Penelope asks him for news. Telemachus, when I have gone to your upper chamber, I shall lie down in my bed, which is made full of groans for me, ever sullied by my tears. But ask him. No, that's not the passage. Okay, so she asks Telemachus if he learned something about his father. Telemachus tells the whole story about how he visited Nestor. Nestor sent him to Menelaus, and from there he learned the news that Odysseus was on the island of Calypso. He doesn't reveal what else he knows, and that is that Odysseus is not only alive, but he's among us now. Okay, but Theoclymenos does say that. He says that an oracle came to him and told him that Odysseus is already here in Ithaca. Respected wife of Odysseus. This is Theoclymenos, line 152. Respected wife of Odysseus, son of Laertes, indeed this man has no clear knowledge, but mark my word. Now that of course isn't actually true. Theoclymenos, as far as Theoclymenos knows, Telemachus has no clear knowledge, but in fact he does. But Theoclymenos says, nevertheless, an oracle came to me. Mark my word, for I shall prophesy to you truthfully and conceal nothing. May Zeus now be my witness, first of the gods and of this guest table, and the hearth of the blameless Odysseus to which I have come, that Odysseus is already on his fatherland soil. This very quickly degenerates into some threats. Odysseus's presence here is a threat to other beggars. Okay, Eumaeus, who has been, because he despises what has happened to the kingdom, the way that the suitors, these lesser rabble have kind of taken over, and so he doesn't want to have anything to do with the palace life, so he stays in his swineherd's hut. But the other herdsmen start insulting this newcomer, Odysseus, in disguise, and Eumaeus. And so this one herdsman insults them both, line 217. Now a man wholly foul, that is Eumaeus, leads a man who is foul. So the gods may always bring a like to his own like. Miserable swineherd, where are you leading this wild pig? So as a swineherd, Eumaeus is already contemptible, but his companion, even more so, his companion is a pig, they say. Eumaeus's response is a public prayer for the return of Odysseus. I pray that the gods send him back, and then you guys will get your comeuppance. May the man himself come, he says, line 243, and may some god bring him. Then he would scatter all these vainglories far and wide, that you bring now in your insolence, forever straying to the town, and evil herdsmen are destroying the flock. Odysseus looks around and he covers the emotion at seeing his home, the palace that he built for the first time in 20 years. He's been dreaming of this moment for a long time. And so it's an incredible emotional rush. But he cannot express that directly, right, without giving himself away. And so he disguises it as a stranger's admiration for, this is a nice place you got here, that cliche of guests. So it's very, very brilliantly done. He says, Eumaeus, this is surely the lovely home of Odysseus, line 265. Easy to recognize when seen, even among many. One part is next to another. I was mentioning this in comparing the description of the excellences of his palace to the excellences of a much more wealthy palace, both that of King Antinous among the Phaeacians and that of King Menelaus, and all in gold and silver and bronze and everything. But here, the excellence is that one part is next to another. This is the dog I was talking about. The dog Argos recognizes Odysseus, and he's the only one, and so he is able to die happy because he sees his master return. Odysseus begins begging, but the other lowlives, the people at the bottom of the pecking order, reject. They do not follow the laws of Xenia, right? And so, because they see this beggar as kind of taking something away from them. And so the goatherd Melanthius first starts heaping scorn on Odysseus. And then Antinous, the surliest of the suitors, the ringleader, starts chiming in, insulting this stranger. The swineherd defends the stranger. Now keep in mind, Eumaeus has not yet been brought into the secret. Telemachus stands up to Antinous. He has the confidence now. Well, actually, I was going to say he has the confidence now that he has been reunited with his father. But he actually showed that from the first moment when Athena comes to him. He's already stood up and renounced the suitors. Antinous turns to that surly suitor, Antinous, and begs directly from him and tells the pitiful story of his fate. Yet Antinous not only refuses to give alms, but throws a footstool at Odysseus. But now, here is where it begins to backfire. The clues start to add up that maybe they shouldn't mess with this guy. They throw a footstool at him, and instead of knocking Odysseus over, the footstool shatters. It's kind of like in the Superman, where the bad guys pull out a gun and start firing, and the bullets just bounce off. The admiration of Penelope grows at this point, and asks Eumaeus about him, and in the midst of this, as everyone is scorning, is denouncing the suitors, Telemachus most of all. Telemachus sneezes, and a sneeze is kind of a sign from the gods that these are that what is being said is proper, and so that kind of underscores the rejection of the suitors, not the scooters. Maybe they reject them too, but Okay, so that's the end of Book 17. One more to go in the material that we were supposed to have done earlier. So we'll meet you again in Book 18, and thank you for joining us on this journey through Book 17. God bless you.